In this video, we're going to be talking about sleep paralysis, and my guest John here is going to share his experience with you with having it, and we're going to share additional insight about sleep paralysis that can help you understand it much better. You've been having sleep paralysis quite frequently in your life. How has it kind of impacted the way you operate?
In terms of like my day-to-day life, sleep paralysis isn't one of those things that's gonna, if you have it, it's not gonna deter your day or make it a bad day. It's kind of one of those things that happens randomly in the morning, or it could happen at night, but for me it's in the morning every time. And it's one of those really strange events that could jumpstart your day, depending on if you need coffee in the morning or not, because it can be a scary experience sometimes. So it doesn't really impact your full day-to-day, but it can be scary from time to time when you have it.
I see. And how long have you been having sleep paralysis for exactly?
I've had sleep paralysis since 8th grade. I'd say it's about 6 to 7 years I've been having sleep paralysis.
Wow. And when you're having it, what is it like exactly?
Right. So how it starts off is you're in sleep. For me, this is how it is for me. And then you start to wake up and you kind of get this feeling and you realize you can't move. It's one of those weird feelings where you feel like you're drifting out of sleep, but you're still sleeping. And so you're consciously awake and your eyes open, but you can't move anything. The only thing you can control is your breathing. And it's really a strange feeling because you kind of feel like you're still in the sleep world at the same time. It's really strange.
Huh. And when you're in sleep paralysis, does time kind of seem like reality? Because in the dream world, time goes by much quicker.
In sleep paralysis, you are consciously aware of your surroundings and awake. So I think you are consciously in the real world's time, so like a normal time. When you're in sleep paralysis, you're experiencing it in normal time. And my first experience actually was a little bit different than my others, not in terms of time, but in sleep paralysis. Mm-hmm. My first experience, I was kind of hallucinating. I was in my room, which wasn't a hallucination, but then everything turned red, and then I felt pressure on my shoulders, and then I kind of heard this whispering in a different language coming from behind my head, and then I woke up right after that. I didn't even really know it was sleep paralysis. I thought it was a second, one of those dreams where you think you wake up, you didn't. And then it wasn't until after the fact where I realized, oh, it was actually sleep paralysis, but I was hallucinating in it. Because I know that happens to some people, but ever since the first time, I haven't had any hallucinations in sleep paralysis.
That's very interesting. So then what do you have then if you don't have that?
Then it's literally just normal reality, but you can't move. Sometimes you can still hear your dream in your sleep paralysis, because one time, actually I forgot about this time, I was in sleep paralysis and I was waking up, and in my dream my parents were fighting, and I was still hearing them while I was in sleep paralysis, looking in my college room.
Yeah, see, that's so trippy, honestly.
Yeah, and then as soon as I snapped out of it and I was able to move, I stopped hearing the shouting. It was the weirdest thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What are some triggers you think that cause you to have sleep paralysis?
I think, I've heard that sleeping on your back is a trigger, and I always sleep on my back for sleep, so that can be a trigger of sleep paralysis. I've also heard drinking caffeine before bed can be a trigger as well. I don't really do that too often, only sometimes, but I can see that as a trigger, but I don't know if that affects me or not.
I've also heard drinking alcohol or maybe having nicotine before bed can also influence.
I think so, because it's kind of the same area as caffeine, where it kind of interrupts your sleep a little bit. It doesn't make it the best quality of sleep as it can be. So maybe that's a trigger for sleep paralysis.
Yeah, and also too, if people are traveling the country and they have jet lag, that can also influence it. Depression, anxiety, all those other factors.
Yeah, I think there definitely are a ton of factors that can influence sleep paralysis.
And the good thing is, sleep paralysis, it's not dangerous, you're not gonna die from it or anything like that.
Correct, yeah. like claustrophobia runs in my family, and luckily for me, I'm not claustrophobic, but I still feel the trappedness, like the feeling of you're being trapped when you have sleep paralysis, because you try to move and you can't. Sometimes it feels like you're moving and then you realize you're not. It's really a strange sensation. But I just focus on my breathing. That's what I do to help myself, because it kind of relaxes me naturally. And that's like the one thing I can control is my breathing. So I just focus on my breathing to help me through sleep paralysis.
That's great. So now when you have sleep paralysis, do you are you still afraid like you were like the first few times, or have you kind of got a good handle on things?
I'll still be like, oh, here we go again, like one of those feelings. And it's still scary, but it's manageable now that I have strategies to deal with it. So focusing on my breathing is like definitely the number one strategy for me, and it helps me get through it.
That's great. That's great. Wow, I think you shared a lot of great information that the people watching could use, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
That was the end of the episode, and I hope you guys found a lot of great value from this, because sleep paralysis, although it's not a dangerous thing, it's definitely a confusing topic. And I hope from the information that we shared, you have a better understanding of it and can combat it more effectively.